Alright, today we are going to be looking at this question 2 that says subarray with zero sum. So what is this question all about? It's a question that always appears in interviews of big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and the likes. So let's look at what this question is all about. And after which we are going to break it down and solve it using Java in Eclipse. Also want to remind you to subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below this video and also kind of get notified when I make new lessons. Alright, the question goes this way. Given an array of integers, check if the array contains a subarray having zero sum. Okay, so let's take an array A is equal to 2 minus 1 minus 2 3 4 minus 1. A subarray is a collection of elements that come from a given array. And also one thing you want to know is that a subarray has to be contiguous sequence of elements. So if you have 2 and 4, it is not a subarray. So in this case, we have minus 1, minus 2, and 3. If you sum it up, minus 1, minus 2, plus 3 is going to give you 0. So we want to look into this array to find out all the subarrays, to find out if this array contains a subarray of 0 length. So I'm going to explain it to you as we solve it in Java. I'm going to explain it line by line. I'm not going to write the algorithm or pseudocode. We're actually going to be writing the code and explaining each line of code we write. Alright, so I'm going to first tell you about the two solutions or the two methods we are going to use. Let me end this and go to Java. So the two methods, one of them is just a brute force method where you simply iterate for each element, you find the subarray for each of the elements. So for instance, let's go back here. If you start with 2, you check 2 minus 1, you check 2 minus 1 minus 2, you check 2 minus 1 minus 2 plus 3. So you keep checking all the subarrays starting from a particular element, and that will give us a solution, but this solution is not going to be optimal. So I'm going to tell you the optimal solution because in Google interviews, the focus is getting an optimal solution. And let me just give you one hint before I finally continue. If you use this brute force method I mentioned, you have a loop running inside a loop. That is a nested loop. And each time you have a nested loop, it means the complexity is order of n squared. Order of n squared means quadratic complexity, and we want to avoid that. We want something like logarithmic complexity or linear complexity. I'll explain this more as we move. So the method we are going to use is called using a hash set. So what we are doing using a hash set, we are going to be calculating running sum at each point. So at point I, we check the sum. At the next point, I plus 1, we check the sum. If we check the sum, we compare it with what is in the hash set, and if it's already in the hash set, a sum like this is already in the hash set, and we also have the sum calculated, it means that there is a subarray of 0 sum, because if you subtract these two sums, we have 0. So the first thing you want to do is to just say set of integers, let's call it set, is equal to new hash set of integers as well, because this has to be an integer set, a new hash set. So simply do Control Shift and O to put in to add the import statement. All right. So integers. Okay, set of integers. So the next thing we want to do is to set the sum to be 0, or set the sum, let's say int sum equal to 0. Alright, so and then we are going to insert the sum into the hash set. This is for, this to be int sum is equal to 0, Let me just check. Okay, int sum is 0. Yeah, fine, I'm correct. So in this case, we are having maybe the first element of the array is 0. So we capture that situation. We are going to now put it into the hash site, and we say site.add, and then we give it some. All right. So the next thing we want to do is to loop through the array. Permit me to move all of this into a new function. So let me cut this and let's put it in a new function. So I'm going to start a new function, public static void. Well, let's call it boolean zero sum sub array. All right, so it's better to put it in a new sum. So public static boolean zero sum subarray. We need a return statement, so let's return false first. All right, so let's now paste what we already have. Good. So the next thing we want to do now is to iterate through the array. So we use a for loop for I int I is equal to 0. I is less than so this function is going to take an array. So let's call it int a. Okay, so it takes an array a, right? So I is less than a dot length, and I'm going to say I plus plus, and that is fine. So stop. Alright, so I'm going to put a comment that says end of for loop. Okay, let's say end of function. It's a good practice in coding to do this. So the next thing we want to do is to now we are looping through the array, and now we are going to do a running sum. So in this case, I'm going to say sum is equal to sum plus the array I, the current element. So at this point, we have sum is equal to 0 plus the current element. So at this point, we are in the first position of the array. Now we are going to check the hash map if it contains the sum. So I can say if site.contains sum, right? So if site.contains sum, at this point, we have existing sum that is equal to this current sum in the hash site, and we are going to simply return true. True, right? Good. So that is fine. So after now, we basically should, assuming the sum does not contain, it means it's not returning. So what we are going to do is to insert this sum into the hash site. So I'm simply going to say site.add sum. Let me just check. Good. So I'm still on track because I already wrote this program, so I just want to make sure that I'm getting it perfectly so I don't confuse you in any way. So let's test this code now. So let's create an array, an integer array, and let's call it AR is equal to, what is this? So 1, 2, minus 3, and 4. So in this case, it contains sorry, let's get this. I want to use AR as a name. So in this case, the return should be true, it contains. So I can simply say system.out.print. So I can just call the function subarray with zero sum subarray. I'm going to just take it so that I don't have to write it again. So if you want, you can pause this video and take your time to copy it out. You can also look at the description box below. You'll see a link to where you can get this code. So I'm going to give it AR, right? So if we run this code, I'm going to go ahead to run it, and you can see, let's see what it returns. It returns true. Okay, fine. So let's make it to not have a subarray of zero sum. Let's take out this tree, and I'm going to run it again, and you can see it returns false. So this is basically how it works. So I'm going to stop here. I'd like to thank you for viewing. Remember to subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button below this video, and also like this video. Leave a comment for me if you have something you would like me to handle.